I used to call in the 70s when I worked at WLEN, yeah.
Man, you're old.
Hey, who just had a 60th?
Yeah, happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
All right, we'll call the meeting of the Kiwanis Regional Trail Authority to order. It is 9 o'clock and roll call, Madison.
Member Kane,
Here.
member Ball,
Here.
member Coker,
Here.
Chair Steele.
Here. All right. We have an agenda in front of us. Not a lot of new items, but today will be a sort of a reset and sort of education of where we came from and where we're at today. So if there's any additions to the agenda, entertain that. If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second. Motion and support. Is there any further discussion? Roll call.
Member Kane,
Yes.
member Ball,
Yes.
member Coker,
Yeah.
Chair Steele.
Yes. All right, we have an agenda. Now we have minutes from our August 12th meeting, and of course you two are here, so you will know if those were correct or not, but Madison does an incredible job, so nice and detailed. You and I will do the motions. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes into the record.
Not sure I'll second it though. I'll second.
Second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Member Kane,
Yes.
member Ball,
Yes.
member Coker,
Yes.
Chair Steele.
Yes. All right. Public comment items that are on the agenda. Do we have public comment? We'll move forward. I'll take the treasurer's report today because that's usually your responsibility.
I was studying last night.
You studied.
Put you right to sleep, didn't
Um, just to give you a feel for the financials, so. When the authority was formed, we were working on the big Tecumseh Connection project and. Jim King can really tell the story probably better than I, but Adrian Township and Jim stepped up with about $10,000 to start adding to the maintenance of the trail. Because of it being occupied inside Adrian Township. And it was a great gesture at the time. And I think 2 years in the second year of that contribution. Raisin Township, Madison Township, Adrian Township, City of Adrian, City of Tecumseh came together. And the idea of solving the issue of how we're going to connect Tecumseh, we also found some magic in bringing everybody together in the different municipalities and partnering. With the focus being is we can take the trail we have today, the existing trail, make it the best it can be. And in that idea, Tecumseh's connection was sort of outside our scope at that time. I ran out there and a number of us got focused in on it. And this county was at the table, and a number of other, the road commission, a number of people came together to work that project. But at the same time, we came together and said, hey, we can really make this a very attractive trail. And we believed in the value of the economic benefit that it would have to our county and to Adrian and the township. So in the early going, as we were forming, we had an attorney that we had. We also had Bob Ford, who was with landscape architects and planners out of Lansing and helped us really form that authority. And in front of you, have articles of incorporation that we amended. Those aren't the signed copies, but I do have those, and I'll be sending you guys electronic files. And we formed with the purpose of looking at our existing trail. We also have a bridge analysis that we paid for to take a look at all the, I think it's 18 bridges, maybe it's 16, something like that. And you'll see the cost associated with trying to fix those. We also had signage, and I didn't bring the signage report, but we had signs put up for all the mile markers and directionals and all kinds of things that we were trying to do. And the city and their workers who do such a great job of maintenance. You'll hear from Jason here in a minute about the things that they do out on the trail to keep it beautiful and keep it, the best it can be. And we keep track of the asphalt and the like. So in the early going, we could look at the budget from the city, and it came in at about $85,000 on an annual basis. Not capital projects, just the maintenance of it, keeping it mowed, making sure we have the asphalt, not big holes, things like that. And on an ongoing basis, we could sort of see that it was running around 85, maybe as much as 100,000. So as Kiwanis had a long history of the trail that dates back to the 70s and the Rails to Trails. The initial idea behind the trails was to connect the parks in Adrian. That was the only idea I had at the time. And then it expanded and it started headed towards through Adrian Township and out through Raisin Township. Over the years, it's gotten bigger and longer and longer. and connected, and the city has most of the maze, if you will. We have a lot of trail inside the city of Adrian. But the long extended runs that go all the way to Tecumseh, the 70s, 80s, 90s even, it continued to develop over the years. So it's been a great project. Kiwanis has been a big spearhead of that, and they worked in partnership with the city. It wouldn't have done it, and it wouldn't have happened if there wasn't the partnership with the city of Adrian. Then bring it to today, and we all felt like, hey, we could really work well together. So the city at the time was doing all of the outlay, and by the way, they still own the trail. The authority does not at this point, but they still own the trail. But we said, let's start sharing in the cost of maintenance. So from their $100,000 budget, we got cut back to 50, and we each put 12.5 in. So Adrian Township, Raisin Township, the Kiwanis even put 12.5 in a year and have for the last 4 or 5 years now. And the city of Tecumseh. So it was this great partnership, I think, that really developed, and there was a lot of cool things that happened, not just trail wise, is that the relationships that were forged. I think they started sharing ideas about how they could solve some of the issues in their own communities and the like. So this regional sort of partner collaboration was, I think, somewhat historic, because if you go back, way back, townships and the city had an adversarial relationship, I'll put it that way, when there was days of annexation and things like that. So there was a long history that had to be overcome to put everybody at the table and focus on this common goal that we all had. But since our last meeting, and I talked to you a little bit about this, is there any questions so far on that? Since then, what was happening too simultaneously, we were working on bridge analysis and maintenance and all that. There's a big fundraising effort in 2019 through 20 and through COVID to raise money, and we had a DNR grant for $300,000 to raise money to extend that trail down Ives up Raisin Center Highway and connect it to Calzone Park. It was a great accomplishment. However, cost overruns and the like, you'll see, and I'll send you some electronic copies of all this so you can see the history of it. It fell short, cost about $180,000. And so at the time we did the DNR grant, the applicant was the county, and that was Marty Marshall. And we were all trying to solve that issue together in rooms for months and months, where we finally figured out how to make the connection, because we couldn't go through the quarry because the owner would not allow it, and he was not really hyped on giving us easements. But the relationship he had with Scott Marlatt, director of Road Commission, ended up prevailing, and we were able to make that connection. So today we've been talking to the county now for what, 3 years since that happened? This is the 3rd year, and while the authority had not formed at that point in time, when that initial application took place, and actually hadn't formed for about a year and a half, 2 years, we felt some sort of obligation that since the authority really did love that connection and we were a part of it, we felt like maybe we should stand ready to pay something back. The county has not made a contribution. At the beginning of this application, they made it clear that they were not going to make any financial contributions. And I was big pusher at the time with the Adrian City Commission to get them to trust that we would have a successful fundraising effort. And just a number of things took place towards the end, like 36 trees that weren't identified that had to be put down for $36,000, to cost overruns, to all kinds of things. But we did, and we're very successful raising about $395,000. We needed to raise about $500,000 or more, as you can see, as we got to the end of that. So we still have ongoing conversations with the commissioners, the county commissioners, but if you date back to when the city looked at it, and at the time the commission evaluated and did not see a place where they had a financial, it didn't feel like they had to have a financial commitment to make up that shortfall. And as we got together as a group and started talking about it, we all had the feeling like, hey, can we make a deal of some sort with the county? And so we were talking about giving them $10,000 a month from our year from our budget, something that wouldn't take our fund balance, which in the financial report right here, our fund balance runs at, right now it's up because it's right after we invoiced all the municipalities, so it's at 236, but it was running about 155 before all this happened. And if we would have had to give that up, we would exist no more. they would have taken all the money at that point in time, so we were trying to cut a deal. And it was like 10,000 for 10 years and then a balloon payment at the end. With all the idea behind this being that at some point we'll figure out how to bring everybody together and pass a millage of some sort between these municipalities. One of which we could then expand our horizons, expand the trail, make it better. And all of us own the trail, the authority itself. And we saw these types of models in Dexter, Michigan and other places that we went and visited where the municipalities came together and pulled this off. And so it still is, I think, a primary goal of ours at some point. But I do think the Raisin Township got a little skittish with the discussion we had about locking ourselves into some sort of long-term loan with the county. I'm guessing just because of the conversations we had been having in this room. And since then, Raisin Township has pulled out from the authority. So it was a little disappointing, quite disappointing, I would say, because it felt like we were working so well together. But I think this relationship and this thing that happened with the county might have caused concern. Because Tom Hawkins, the supervisor, at that time in our last discussions, said if I bring this loan up in front of my trustees, they will not sign it. They will not get into a lockdown, make it real, type loan. And Tom was not of the belief that a millage would pass either. And I'm just this was all open, so it's all, it was actually, he was resistant to the idea. And that maybe we should do this on a project by project basis, because even though we're a very strong applicant at the state level, probably even at the federal level, because we're a group of collaborative municipalities that come together and that application tends to be strong. So, we have a number of ideas, but I think we're having to go back to the drawing board here because of two new players and one that's missing, and sort of get conceptual again about where we stand. So before I go on further, I will just let you know that all the bills look like they've been paid. We've received $100,000. We've had expenditures. The date of looks like it's at 16,288.80. There'll be an invoice here in a moment that we'll look at, and you'll also find the balance sheet shows our current fund balance 236,306.71. So any questions on the budget, on the financials? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the financial report into the record. Motion. Support. Is there any further discussion? Roll call.
Member Kane,
Yes.
Member Baugh,
Yes.
Member Coker,
Yeah.
Chair Steele.
Yes. Also in your package, you'll find an invoice from the city of Adrian for labor, overhead and supplies in the amount of $2,860.40. These are normal and customary. This is the work of our great employees at the city that take care of us. So it's usually rather detailed because you want to see exactly what they spent money on. So on the first page, you'll see a summary. You'll see the agenda review form, and you'll see the invoice, and then behind it, you have supporting documentation. Any questions on that? If not, I'll entertain a motion to pay the invoice 2066 in the amount of $2,860.40. Motion. Motions or support? Second. Is there any further discussion? Roll call.
Member Kane,
Yes.
Member Baugh,
Yes.
Member Coker,
Yes.
Chair Steele.
Yes, and that was actually moving into new business there. So now the discussion, I just sort of want to open it up. I did a lot of talking there, trying to give you a little bit of background. But I just would like to see what you guys' thoughts are, what you're thinking. And we can go into any other historical parts of this, because this has been going on. When is our articles were adopted? I think it was 2001, wasn't it? These might be the updated version.
Version 2.5. This was dated originally 2020.
2020, yeah. October 1st, 2020 is when we took, when we formed.
The one concern I have is the long-term maintenance. How we're going to accomplish that with bridges. I think that's the first look. That's came to me from multiple sources since I came to this area here in the last month. So my concern, besides this outstanding legacy issue we have with the county.
Yeah, definitely. It's the hardest player in this, in my opinion, is the city of Adrian, because they own it. And with withdrawal of the Raisin Township, you'll find that, I can't remember the exact, but a good 3 miles, maybe more. Is in that Raisin Township.
Right.
And a lot of bridges, same, there's a couple miles inside Adrian Township, and then there's a lot of bridges in Adrian, and that report you'll have to show you which are the most severe we need to address and how it moves down. There's also out there, Jeremiah knows this real well, and so does Jason. The bridges were built on some railroad ties, I think, on some of the smaller bridges, and those railroad ties were sinking this on the outside, so they keep making the ramp a little bit more steep with asphalt, and so that's one of the issues. Those need to be replaced probably with cement as opposed to what they did in the past. But there's also other issues that when you touch a bridge, you have to fix the railings appropriately to the right sizes based on the regulations. You have to do certain things if you start. But more importantly, we've all become aware of the issue. Right? Where awareness makes you, there's a risk associated with awareness. And so as the city has done from here is that, and we heard this discussion last time, if those bridges become unsafe and the onus is all on the city of Adrian to fix those bridges, would they shut them down? Would they shut that part of the trail down? And that's what we just got to this discussion, by the way, so this is brand new, it's somewhat new. But it is because we became aware.
It's quite considerable, I think. When you look at it from a perspective, this is an asset for not only the county, but the state. And like look at it as a group from that perspective, because the labor, the cost is really falling on the state of Adrian, our partners. At the table, I appreciate that Raisin Township, as you stated, is 3 miles. They just walked away from. You have bylaws here. I don't know if there's any issue with them just walking away like that, but it's very interesting.
There is an exit clause in the bylaws.
You pay your last 12.5, whatever, and give a notice.
Yeah, so that's my concern as well, is the survivability of this authority, with Raisin Township's withdrawal and without another funding source, i.e. a millage. I don't know where the discussion was previously on the millage, but is that a county-wide millage or just the municipalities belonging to the authority?
So
How many hours did we have that discussion?
Tom felt like it, the county level one. However, what you'll find is if you go out to Morenci, or Riga, or go out to the outskirts, they don't find the value in it. And so that's harder to go county level. So we're considering a special election where you draw the boundaries. And we felt like with Raisin Township, you would have at least 60% of the voting constituencies of the county. And so we thought that would, be a good representation. That's where the trail lies at the moment.
So then the assumption is Raisin Township withdraws their.
So question becomes is, can the surviving group, what can they do? The other side is, the idea was, if we make it so nice that other municipalities will join in, the opposite sort of happened here, but that was our hope, was that, wow, that's really doing well. And we started hearing from Clinton Township, right? And we started talking about what would that connection look like if we could get to Washington. And if you look at the state plan and their transportation plan, they're really big on funding community connection throughout the state. So if you go up there, there's a guy named Mike Smith, he puts the map on the table of Michigan and shows all the trails. And he's like, I want these connected, I want these connected, that's a big deal. So we have projects we talk about, like connecting the ProMedica campus. Because they have their own wellness trail out there, and Kiwanis made a contribution to that, and now they consider it part of the Kiwanis Trail. It's a wellness trail, sort of a target to go for. The transportation alternative program, TAP program, is really, it's an unlimited source. It's like the DNRs are maxed out at 300,000, but the TAP program depends on what you're doing. And so, I think if even with the remaining members, can we achieve something through those programs? And I have not done an investigation as to whether or not we could put an application in to save the bridges or to upgrade the bridges.
I think that's critical.
Gotta be the focus.
Yeah, I think
think so.
we need to find out if that's possible, because as a group, we can't afford, there's, what is it, 12 million?
2.1.
2.1.
Oh,
2.1.
yeah, I was only off 10%.
Might as well be 12.
Yeah, it's the same.
Exactly. So
And when was that number?
that was just last year, I think. Yeah.
So add 10%.
So by the time we get around to everything, it'll be probably twice that. So, but if there's, state or federal funding. And you two are new, and Dusty knows my opinion on this. $7 to $9 million are gonna spend on that tunnel, which I think's, you might as well just open the car door and let the money flow out, cause that's of no use as far as I'm concerned. But if we could take something like that, get part of that money to fix the bridges, and do some other things for the trail, I think you're gonna benefit a whole lot more people than you are providing a place for people to sleep in the wintertime. So,
Yeah, I come here today hoping I can motivate to keep this thing rolling, because I think it is still a great way for, partnership. But I do want to start talking to the state again about what's the possibility of these bridges. Has there ever been an incident throughout the state where you're able to get funding for that type of that? And the other side of it is, since it's a known quantity, call it 2.5 million. Is there a campaign we should set up of some sort, to try to make it happen? Because it really can't fall, I see your dilemma is gonna be heavy if
Right.
we don't figure something out.
You see three essential funding sources. Is SAD is probably the second. The first one would be TAP grant. The third one is campaign.
Yeah. And I don't know if TAP grant qualifies. They really talked hard about connecting communities, but in Denver, really talked about salvaging, aging trails.
I think we'll probably hear more from the maintenance report that'll trigger some concepts, but I think we at the very least have to address those first two. Or actually, probably not the third one yet. I don't know if there's an appetite for a special assessment district, but campaign plus the TAP grant.
That was another discussion we had, so thanks for bringing that out. Special assessment district, you can do a one-off on that and knock it out. But that's another, it has its own political issues that go with that. But yeah, we did bring that up, and we do have consultants we call upon quite often. So once we get there. But I can certainly reach out. Bob Ford usually attends these meetings when asked. And he's a great resource for trails. Been doing it his whole career. In Lansing, he's a big part of their trail system. So action step there is just to say if we can do some investigation at state level.
You need a motion.
I don't think we need a motion, do we? No.
Oh, that's a little.
what's that?
Just assigning homework, I don't think we need a motion.
No, I don't think so.
No.
Go for it, Dusty.
Dig in, I'm pretty sure we're gonna be able to.
Everybody can look, use their contacts. Dig up on that.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions on that? We'll move forward. And Jason, what's going on out on the trail?
Hey, good morning. Started our routine fall maintenance, if you will, which is consists of blowing the trail from start to finish, and then finish to start, if you will. And pretty much every other day right now, once the leaves start dropping, they have been. Some of the earlier defoliators are doing it now, and then we'll continue blowing. Mowing has slowed down a little bit, but we're still hitting trailheads as needed. We did some extensive repair on the Bent Oak Crossing bridge. It goes north, railings and floorboards. We noticed once we took one maybe rotten section out, we found another one. So we were a little bit proactive on that, and definitely had a lot of good feedback from the trail users. The weather has been nice, so we're seeing a lot of activity on the trail. So we're getting a lot of positive feedback and everything. As far as vegetation control, we've been keeping up on that pretty regularly throughout the season. So we're not seeing a ton of needed vegetation control, aerial or otherwise, which is nice. We'll do another winter assessment, this coming winter for any aerial work. We did that 3 years ago and that seemed to pay dividends with, trees down, branches down. We're just not seeing a lot of that when we get storms or wind, but, routine fall maintenance as we move forward.
Excellent. Any questions for Jason? So if you can see the theme there, replacing boards, oh, I'm sorry,
What was the bridge that had repair?
I know.
been over crossing, it's really just
Just
trestle,
north
the
of the-
E-pier trestle one, the big tall one.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, I noticed when I'm on the trail, I can see a brand new board here, brand new board there, brand new railing here, because I walk it every day. And it's just piecemeal. That's the matter, piecemeal, but, it was interesting when we had Mannequin Smith in and they talked about the trails. It was a long meeting, but it was, interesting to the extent that how some of these are constructed. It can be an all or nothing thing, like you gotta take it all apart, put it back together kind of thing, and then there's other ones that have, you can fix, understanding, but each of them have their own unique issues, and like I said, you should see them in an order of worst to least worst. Any other questions for Jason on maintenance? All right. All right, also, we have taken the time years ago, I guess a couple years ago now, that we prioritize various projects. Another thing I haven't brought to you, and again, I got an electronic file of building for you guys, I'll send it out today. Is the actual, the beginning of all this started where Kiwanis put the money together with the city of Adrian, and we had a non-motorized transportation study done in detail. In that, there were over 18 phases that we identified that could be improvements, much like in these trails, they create loops. There's all these loops because people like to do a 2-mile loop, a 3-mile loop, and so there's all these visions that we sort of brought together with the help of consultants. One was being connecting, to the hospital, as I said before, but there's another one from Adrian, Highland Park, all the way to Heritage Park, along the riverside. But we were always, we want to help townships too, to keep them together and to come see it. And so you don't want to have all the projects in Adrian. You want to start thinking, how do we do one in Raisin Township, or we were that way? How do we do something in Adrian Township that benefits those citizens, so they start seeing the value of the trail and the work we're doing? So the Village of Clinton, they're standing ready to talk to us at some point, but the issue there is a lot of this, the backbone and the lowest cost version of building a trail is to be on a railroad bed. It's already done, a lot of base work. It's finding that route. A lot of cities you'll see have trails that are right next to, in the right of way, right next to the road, which none of us really like that much, but it's probably the only solution in many cases to get that done. But these were some of the visions. It's not, we have to go into detail, but I'll get you that initial analysis so you can see what those were. Questions?
So I think, not to put us in a silo, but as far as priority projects, shouldn't the bridges be the priority project?
Yeah, you're right.
These are all conceptual, and so I think that maybe
Let's move that on the
we need
agenda.
to replace
Of
A
the
with bridges.
I would agree. I'll put that. Didn't I? So that sort of summarizes it. We're gonna focus on the bridges and see if we as a group can find a solution.
I mean, if we don't fix the bridges, then.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. The groups that had convened before, were they leaning in any direction, or is it still, it's more of an open?
I think our hope was that we were starting to talk to a consultant to do surveys of our public as to their desires to support the trail and the idea of running a millage. And those early survey proposals that we got showed that they'd be making outbound phone calls to all of our, as many people as answer the phone. And a lot of us at the table sat there and said, I don't answer any phone calls anymore. I don't know how valid that survey would really give us as far as what the public's thoughts were of supporting a millage. So we knew a millage would be the answer to the bridges if we could pull that off, but with the exit of Raisin Township, it's gonna be difficult to play that game right now.
Well, actually, Dusty, I think it might be, in our favor. Because the way Tom talked, there was no way residents of Raisin Township would approve that. And I think the residents of Adrian Township would. Now, whether the cities of Tecumseh and Adrian would, it remains to be seen, but I think it improved our position for a millage by them dropping out. Because all four have to approve it. Individually, even though it's an authority, all four still have to approve it in each municipality. So,
Yep.
yeah,
So the way we got an opinion on that, and that is, if 3 out of the 4 voted in favor, and the 4th didn't, it failed.
right.
It just
Even though the majority said yes,
Yeah.
it wouldn't matter. Yeah.
And
But not to say that that's our answer, because I think to get the bridges fixed, and I agree with you, that's gotta be number one priority. We're gonna need some help from state and federal money. Just, it is what it is.
now we're missing a member.
Yes.
Do we incorporate? Why?
Well, actually, they're still members until the 1st of July. Cause they paid.
That's a good question.
They paid, I don't know who it would be though. Because those are the 4 municipalities where the trail goes through.
Yeah.
And actually, Tecumseh, I mean, you guys have got about 100 yards of trail. Not a lot,
Yeah.
but, we're trying to figure out where we're gonna put the gates to eliminate Raisin.
So I never have to say anything.
Hey, I'm a lame duck and I'm tired, so.
Is there any hope of bringing them back?
We went and talked to their trustees before, they don't respond much to us when we're talking to them, because one of the things that we initially said is, can we go back to the municipalities with this county issue? And get another, can everybody participate in some way? I mean, your predecessor was a belief that if everybody would participate in some way, that he could go back to his commissioners and get an approval, but it had to be everybody has to participate. And it's not gonna be just Tecumseh or just Adrian, or for that matter, but right.
I would agree, my predecessor.
Right. And so that was the dilemma we were trying to settle that issue. But yeah, there's a lot of political things here when you think of the county and the idea that it hasn't moved to a value in their commissioners' minds that they should participate is baffling to me, because it is a county asset. I think it's a very vibrant county asset, great county asset. So that's that issue. The fact that Raisin steps out, even if we got a millage, how could we justify upkeep of their part of the trail?
Right.
Which is a large part of the trail. It's a long run in Raisin Township. So how is that handled politically? Because it is not fair. And I'm sure way back in history, they looked forward and said, well, these guys are doing this rails to trails thing. They're coming up into our area on the trail, on the railroad. Someday they're gonna stick us with the maintenance, and I'm sure that's in the minds of their constituents at times. But I hate to look at it that way. This was a great opportunity happening all over our state and all over the country. I mean, people go looking for trails. We have some great events on the trail now. And we had a great ideas of, man, can you go back and forth? You got a marathon on your hands if you wanted to do that. There's the hub that comes to town and ride the trail. That comes down to downtown Adrian. We thought of 2 downtowns connected, 4 municipalities connected. What kind of big events could we have with each other? Those were all the ideas that were floating around.
I mean, I don't remember the number, but I was surprised at how many people were, designated, but use the trail to get to work. To walk to work or ride their bikes, or now we're having some issues with the electric bikes. but people are using the trail for that benefit, so.
Another historical thing here was ProMedica, when things were fine. And they had moved into their challenges that they ran across. We were all at the table talking about, the TAP grant and other things at the state level because we were connecting people to healthcare. And that was a run that had a very, very, strong argument for it. And they were at the table, but they're a year or two still away from any commitments as they recover from the investment that they made, that it didn't go so well through COVID. So, but they're always ready to listen. They're just not in a position yet. But again, it's not our highest priority, the bridges.
I mean, yeah, we don't do something with bridges, the rest of it, obviously falls apart anyway. Because from what I understand, I haven't read through this study, but speaking with my predecessor, bridges are at critical point.
Yeah.
So you're talking about setting up gates around bridges and cutting off the trails throughout. That's a huge issue, obviously.
And it went to the point as one of the reasons we did that study too was part of the argument of the millage. That is, we all own this together, and it's going to get shut down if we all don't take responsibility together for it. So there's a problem identified, not such a beauty one like connecting a trail to something, but just to keep it, to let it exist was an argument for the millage too. That was the other side of the coin. So, but again, we're probably too far away from that. So now it's about sources. What kind of sources, and making the public aware. I think that's another thing that we could do is make awareness. Look at your beautiful trail. Look what we have a dilemma. We all have a dilemma. What can we do about it? And ask for help.
I wasn't aware you said the city of Adrian higher trail.
Yeah.
It's there.
Right, Gordon?
Oh, yeah, I like hearing that.
Yeah. So,
You probably didn't get all the information, so reminds me of when I interviewed a guy to become a clerk in Adrian Township. And I told him all about the accounting and stuff like it, because that was his background. And he said he'd do it. I neglected to talk to him about elections. Which was, you would know, it was probably about 60–70% of the work.
Yeah, there's a number of issues. If Adrian's city employees, how far north here?
I mean, we go out to the council.
Yeah.
So we have to answer that to our citizens too.
I agree.
And I don't mean to interject, I just, to put it out there, well, there's also, from the city standpoint, there's the school pursuing the millage for the new indoor facility, so that's coming in May. And we have a bone pool issue that, we're looking at $8 to $10 million as well. I'm trying to figure that out. So there's a wealth of things coming down the pipe, and just speaking as a city employee, I'm like, I know how much money there is, and I know what it's going to cost to address all these things. I'm like, we don't have it, right? Not to put a negative cloud over this conversation, but I'm just being kind of real and going, okay, we do understand where the bridges are at. We do understand that the public's going to be going to the box here in May to address the indoor facility at $27 million, and we also have a pool issue that's hanging out. So finding that source is, I think, it's pertinent right now. We have to figure that out. If that's a TAP grant, if that's going to the state, but I feel like we're in crisis mode. Like a decision has to be made. I don't think this is a conversation that we can still be having, in the summer of 26 going on. I think it's, there's some severe looming financial costs coming for the city. I don't know where that's coming from.
And Jim, I appreciate those comments, because challenges are heavy. Welcome to your new position, man.
Priorities.
Yeah.
Identified.
No, yeah, but I think that's the idea. So again, I'll also send you the contact information for Bob Board. You'll see it on the actual study itself. But he's a great resource that we've used over time to ask some of these issues too, to dig up opportunity for us.
So Jeremiah mentioned, we can't continue to have these conversations into the summer of 26. A lot of the solutions that we're talking about today, they're not quick and in a hurry.
Right.
So how, I guess, at what point do we say that we need to make a final decision?
Then you have to, what's being asked, the final decision, one of the first decisions we have to make is when we deem something critical to deem it shut down. Portions of the bridge, and I would leave that to the experts at this point that work for the city of Adrian. But the diplomacy part of it is the final. The question is for the final. I'll hold that for now. What do you think the question is? The answer.
Well, I suppose the question's answer is, is this, as far as just the maintenance goes currently. The city of Adrian is committed to do that.
Yeah, it looks, there's, at this point, it would be irresponsible to back out. It'd be our preference where we just take care of the trail inside the city limits. But at this point, I think we're in for the win right now, but I prefer to have a partnership, just like the bylaws say, and we all start thinking about it long term. Have a maintenance fund set up, because when we fix the bridges this time, you gotta think about fixing the bridges 20 years from now.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
I think it's bigger than just the quick fix. So our president, those that follow us won't have this problem again. So answer your question, on day 16 here, 17, we're going to be able to, well, it could be a game time decision when it comes on closing down the bridge. Any final decision on our part be responsible for me to say right now.
And then I sit here and think that Nancy and I were talking about this morning, and she said, you've spent a lot of time over the years on the trail. And the authority to just dissolve, what does that do? Puts everything on you.
Mm-hmm.
And we're right back to where we were before we started. It's not fair. I like the trail. I walk the trail, and I get a lot of comments. Let's put that back. See that. See that. Dollars to fix our. I just can't believe that's not possible. So.
How do you guys understand a special assessment? How does special assessment work per se?
I don't know.
Well,
I come from special assessments where I come from.
Mhm.
We had a special assessment district in 1978 set up to support one, the police, one, the fire. Depending on how you set it up, but for an asset like that, I believe that would be, depending on the appetite of the public, I believe you can you put it on the ballot and see if folks would want to vote for it. And you might set it up for 7 years. I believe there's a term of years, or it's indefinite. So let you know, it'd be different.
Well, you can, so the issue with the special assessment district is that you're gonna have, again, I don't wanna be negative, but I wanna be real. You don't have the voters of Raisin Township supporting that, then I don't think any other voters will support it, because Raisin Township is gonna benefit greatly from that. And other voters will be funding Raisin Township's, trail.
Put the key here.
Yeah, well, I understand that. I understand. And then you also have to identify, you know. So you eliminate, so you have your special assessment district. District. That's going to pay that assessment. So is it the entire city of Tecumseh? Is it? The ones closest to the trail, you know, is it the entire city of Adrian? It's, so those can be tricky.
That's why to me, a millage makes more sense than a special assessment district. Usually, at least in the 20 years I was supervisor, special assessments that came to me were for road improvements, things like that, and it was the residents
Correct.
that initiated the special assessment, not the township. Where the township usually initiates a millage. So.
The way I read them too, you're supposed to be zero-based budgeting, which would be hard when you're trying to maintain maintenance of a bridge. Even though I've seen it run away.
Not budget's just a roadmap.
I think when the public is faced with the closing of the trail, when they're faced with that, and then the idea that if the city owns it, what do you have to do to the trail to not make it an attraction, even if it's closed? Because if it's an attraction and somebody gets hurt on it, then when it's closed, what happens then? Do you have to get covered up? Do you have to? I mean, I never could imagine this because we never talked on that side, but it might be something to ask. Is
That's a great point, because even though put the term closed on it doesn't alleviate your total risk.
I would agree.
Have you had discussions in this room before on what the millage rate would be?
We said a quarter point would get us 350,000-400,000 a quarter.
Oh, I think it would be more, we made some assumptions and we did have some figures, but with the 4 municipalities, including Raisin, we figured we had about 60% of the electorate in the county. Because Tom wanted to do a countywide one and I was never in favor of that. But, and then I think, if I'm not mistaken, the county SEV is somewhere around 2 to 2.5 billion. So if you back out 60% of that, it's just rough numbers. Yeah, so you'd probably be, I don't think you'd be above a 500,000. So. But you have to do a long range as far as, like you say, with the bridges. You fix them now, but how many of the bridges are 4 or 5 years away from the same situation? So.
But the authority has a lot more financing power if it has a millage, right? A lot more. Yeah. They can enter into the municipal bond, just arena number of things if they were able to get to that level. And there can be major improvements and set asides.
Set asides
Yeah.
bond rates or the area.
Municipals are probably running 2 to 3%, 4%, but it depends on the credit worthiness of the organizations that are coming to market.
Just last month.
To base this authority's
Yeah.
credit rating.
Yeah. After you walk through the process of getting allocation.
Yeah.
Deep conversations this time.
So I think
I don't know
a
if
few
they
phone
let you know
calls.
there is another meeting.
Well,
Looking in the door.
so we're fine.
Just wave at them.
Is there, I think we've identified issues for this meeting, so we can do some inner homework. I'll be gone for the next 10 days or 12 days or whatever.
Good time.
When I get back. I have a good time. If I just run out of town right after.
Yeah.
But anyway, I won't be able to put much off before I leave, but I will get back to it. Whatever connection points you guys have, and again, I'll send you an electronic file this afternoon with all the supporting other documents that I didn't print out today that you can look back and see everything. You'll also find on the website, the Medicine Keeps, is all of our past minutes, all of our past agendas, all of our past meetings, and so that's all accessible.
Thank you.
Actually, probably these reports are on there too. I probably don't have to send them. I just need to send them a link.
Yeah, well, it's also listed on the City of Tecumseh's iCompass website as well. That's a more thorough track of past agendas and minutes. I think the website only keeps track of the previous 10.
Oh, I see. Thank you. All right, is there any further discussion on this meeting? Now we'll have public comment on items that are not on the agenda.
Yeah, a couple comments and questions, some on the agenda, some not on the agenda. One, when we talked about the bridges being in critical condition, I just want to make a clarifying point that I ride the trail almost every single day, usually to Tecumseh and back. The only reason that the trail is still functional is because of the amount of work the city of Adrian has put into it. Those trails are well beyond life expectancy, and Jeremiah's team, and Jason has done a tremendous job keeping those up. So kudos to them for their work in doing that. Secondly, I would ask this group more of a rhetorical question about how do we get more people involved in this conversation than those that are in the room? This is a heavy lift for you guys. This is a lot of work, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done. How do we get more of the community involved, right? How do we find those people who enjoy the trail and find value in the trail to be a part of this conversation and bring positivity to it? I spend a lot of time in the Traverse City area, and for some reason I give like $100 to the Traverse area recreational trail every year because they send me a request form. So is there a development arm that needs to come out of this authority to help fund? Obviously not 2 million worth of bridge repairs, but is there a couple $1,000, couple $10,000 that you can raise a year to help offset the maintenance cost that's going into it? I heard Administrator Boss comment about trying to justify city of Adrian workers being out to come see on the trail. I do think it's important to remember that the city does own the trail, so we are on city property. That's no different than doing some maintenance in Heritage Park that's not fully in the city limits. But yeah, I think ultimately I would just ask this group, how do we get this out to the public and get people excited about it? And how do we try to get a positive message moving forward before we say, hey, the bridges are bad, we're shutting them down. So, but thank you guys for the work you're doing. It is appreciated.
You guys know Jake?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm Jacob Cooper. I'm a city of Adrian resident.
Yeah, great point. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Don,
Don Taylor, my partner Dave here and I spent a bit of time a few years ago working with a group called Connecting Lenaway. And if you drive around the county, you'll see a lot of signs that say how to get to here, how to get there, Connecting Lenaway. Working with the Road Commission, it's actually a fantastic group to work with. I can't necessarily speak for Dave, but I'm very disappointed that Grayson Township has backed out of this. Their enthusiasm was as strong as everybody else's when it started, and obviously it has waned, which makes it very difficult for all the rest of you. But I guess I would just say that I don't know what the solution is, but I'm very unhappy that they've done that. So you've made lots of progress. You've got a lot of great thinking going on for the future, and it's a shame that happened.
Dave.
I would just add, just looking at it from 30,000 feet here. I agree with Jim completely. We really had a good thing going. And maybe we got a little ahead of ourselves in trying to reconcile this 180,000. There's a lot of different ways to go at it. And as far as I know, the city of Adrian owns the Kiwanis Trail. Is that true?
Yeah.
So it all comes back to the city of Adrian that we want to help solve that problem. But my view is that our primary thrust ought to be on reconciliation. How do we reconcile and get them back in? Because I think it's really important to have those all four entities in. And I would have a look at my business plan. I'd have a look at your charter, see what that says. Look at all your founding documents. What does it say you want to do? And then how do all these projects that you'd like to do fit in? And see if you can bring them back in. I do know that you have plenty of cash. You could pay off this thing if you wanted to. And as far as I know, the county has plenty of cash, all thanks to marijuana sales. If you want to go beyond where you are now, you're going to need the county. It seems to me the county has a stake in this. And you know, if I were the county, I'd write you a check for whatever it is and get on with life. But it looks like we've got some personalities, situations here going on. And, you know, 10 years from now, no one will remember that. All they'll remember is that we brought the KRTA to a halt. And I would not do that. But I think you've got the core to move forward. So you got a lot of work to do, but the last thing I do is start thinking about retribution against Raisin Township. That is not the way to go. And we need their cooperation. I mean, you don't want the trail to decay as it runs through Raisin Township, for God's sake. I mean, it's your property, but you know, you have to maintain the whole trail. There's a lot of people ride that trail through Raisin Township. I think that's the most used part of the trail, personally. So
I was kidding about the gates.
that's my 2 cents worth. But I agree with you completely, Jim. We gotta keep this thing alive.
You sparked something in my brain, and I'm not gonna bring it up at this moment, but I'll discuss it with our chairman and move forward. But thank you for your comments, because maybe you came up with a solution.
Public comment, any more public comments? 9 out of 10, a motion to adjourn.
Hey, Dusty. Hey, Dusty.
Second, oh, yeah, Jason.
Hey, I'm sorry. Hey, Dusty, maybe you can clarify this real quick. My understanding, since I've been here, is the city owns the trail to Green and Ives. The extension is on the county right of way. And when that was finished, we had just asked a question, who's to maintain that extension from Green and Ives down Raisin Center to Tecumseh? And it was just agreed upon that the city of Baden would continue the maintenance on it. But I don't believe that's our property, city of Baden property, once you go past the Green and Ives trailhead. But maybe I'm wrong on that. I think that's a county right of way property. Just something to think about. That is through Raisin Township, that extension part of it.
Your thought would be that the county actually owns that?
Well, not my thought the county owns it, but I don't know how the city would own it either. I know we had the property to Green and Ives trailhead, and the extension as it goes is on the right of way. Who's actual owns that property? And it was just agreed upon at a meeting a couple years ago when we asked about maintenance of the extension, or we just to continue for the city to maintain it. And at that time, the answer was yes, please continue to do that.
I'll have to look into that, I'm sure. Good point. Thank you, Jason. Material information. With that, we've had a motion, we have support. Roll call.
Member Kane,
Yes.
Member Baugh,
Yes.
Member Coker.
Yeah.
Chair Steele.
Yes. All right, thank you, guys.